Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today's card is pretty involved, but it's really simple. It's mostly just a lot of coloring. So here's the front of my card with the bunny hanging over the fence, and when you open it up, you have the bunny on top of the cat, which is pointing an arrow to the mouse and the chicks with a balloon. You can see as I close it that the bunny page hugger fits right over the fence. I'm using quite a few stamp sets, but these are the two main ones, the Mama Elephant Page Huggers and the My Favorite Things Birthday Chicks. I'm going to start by creating my card base, which is two A2 size Nina Solar White folded pieces of cardstock, and I'm going to adhere them together like this. So I'll take my tape runner and I'm going to tape up all four sides of the inside of one of these cards, and then I'll place the non-taped side in the middle and then press it down. Notice I'm holding it up so that I know that it'll fold correctly, and I'm just watching the top and the bottom to make sure that they're even. And this is how it's going to close up. Now I want those flaps, and how I get those flaps is to put this into my scoreboard, and I'm going to score it at 2 1/8. So I'm thinking about it here to make sure I don't screw this up. 2 1/8 on one side, and then flip it over 2 1/8 on the other side. And you're going to score the inside of the flap because we're going to be folding it toward the outside. So I'll fold one side toward the top and then take my bone folder and crease it down, and then I'll do that same thing on the other side so you can see how these two sides are meeting in the middle. And there's going to be a tiny little space in between them, but it's not big enough to worry about it. So here is my card. You can see how it opens. It's super easy to make. I'm going to work on my page hugger stamps first. I'm going to stamp them with Memento Tuxedo Black ink onto some Nina cardstock. And I'm also going to stamp all of the smiley faces because they look so much cuter this way. And I'm also putting some glasses on my mouse. And I'm also going to color in all the noses with a Micron pen. Now for my bunny, I'm using just really simple, this is the way I color all my white animals. I just put some W1 all along the edges, and then I take a 0 colorless blender and then just go along those hard edges. For his cheeks, I'm going to use some RV00, just a little dot here, a little dot there, and then I'll wipe over it really quick with a 0 just to blend it out so it doesn't look like a dot. And then same thing for his ears, a little bit on the side, and then take my 0 colorless blender and just blend it out a little bit. For the cat, I'm using Y21. I'm doing my striped cat that I've done before. I'm going to color the whole thing except for a white belly. So I'm going to cover the whole entire thing, but my white belly is going to be kind of a jagged edge. It's not a drawn oval. I'm going to soften up that white belly with a 0 colorless blender. I'm just going along the edge. I'm not going to put too much down because it'll push my Y21 away, and I don't want that. So I'm just kind of feathering it in there just to make it look like a soft white belly. I'm going to put some stripes on this cat. I'm using YR24, and I'm just starting wide, and then as I move in, I'm going up and down in just a smaller area. So it comes to a point. I'm going to do it on the side of his head, and then I'll do 2 more on each side of his body. I'll flip it over and I'll do a longer one in the center and 2 shorter ones on either side. Now to make these a little bit more dimensional, I'm taking some E99 and I'm adding just a little bit of a dot of it at the base of all of these triangles, and then I'm blending it out with the YR24. And you may have noticed that I skipped one by accident, so I'm going to fill that in with the 99 and then color it in again with the YR24. Now after I did this, I realized I wanted them to be a little bit longer. They were all too short. So I just went over the whole thing again with the YR24, making these just a little bit bigger. Notice I don't mind going outside the lines because I'm going to be cutting them out. For the mouse, I'm going to take C1 and color the glasses first because I want those to be really light, and then I'm just going to color around them from here on out. I'm going to work from dark to light, moving toward the inside. Notice that around the arms, I colored the left side of each arm, both on the right side and the left side of the black line, and that just makes it look a little bit more dimensional. I'm going back in with my C1 to just blend out any harsh lines. For the arrow, I'm just using 2 colors of blue. I just have B24, and then I filled it in with the B21. I'm going to go ahead and cut all of these out. I don't have the dies which cut the arms out, so I'm going to cut them out by hand with an exacto knife. And I have done this so many times, and I'm kind of glad that I do it this way because I get an exact line around these arms, and I don't have to worry about misplacing the die. So you can see I just kind of work my way around these arms very carefully, and most of the time I'm moving the bunny, not so much the X-Acto knife. So I'm actually cutting around the edge so that the inked edge, the inked outline, is in the front when the arms pull forward. Now I had a little bit catching, so I just turned it over to see where I missed, and so I'll just cut that out, and you can see that the arms will pop forward. And I did this for all 3 of the page hugger animals. Next, I'm going to work on my fence. I'm using the hardwood background stamp by Stampin' Up. I'm going to ink it up with some Memento Rich Cocoa ink. I really like the combination of this ink with the Stampin' Up Crumb Cake cardstock. And it's 5.5 inches wide and just a little bit longer than the 2 1/8. I'd say 2.5 or so. I'm going to flip this over and you can see how good it looks. I love this look. And then for the other side, I'm using Soft Sky cardstock, so I also cut a piece. Now these are both oversized just because I wanted to make sure I didn't cut them too short. So I'll put the tape runner on my white base on all 4 sides, and then I'll place some Soft Sky in the middle just so I can see the edge. Just makes it easier for me to apply this. So I'll just put it right there on the bottom, press it down, and then for the other side I'm going to put that Soft Sky. I just had some black cardstock laying around, so I put that underneath so that I could see this one. I already put the tape runner on the white cardstock, and I'll place this here. Now they're going to go over the edge on both sides. I'll show you here, and I'm just going to take this to my trimmer and trim those edges off. To fill up some of that space in my sky, I'm using the Spring Showers dies by Lawn Fawn, and I'll cut a medium and a small cloud out. Now I'm positioning my bunny so that his arms go right over the edge of the fence, and I'm going to keep it in place and flip it over and make a pencil line where I do not want my adhesive. And I'm also not going to put my 2A glue on the arms, and that gives it freedom to attach to the fence. So once I get it on, I'm going to press it down as my card is closed, and then my bunny will stick to my Soft Sky. And then just to finish out the front, I'm going to put some 2A glue on the back of my clouds, and I'm going to hang that small one off the side. I'll trim that off later. Before I adhere my cat, I want to color in some grass. So I'm just going to position him where he needs to go. I'll mark both sides, take the cat off, and I'll color in some grass. I'm using 2 colors of green, YG25. You can see I flick upward in the middle, and then I start flicking toward the side on either side. I'm just highlighting with that darker green. Now before I adhere him, I'm going to put the arrow in his arms, and I didn't glue this arrow in, I just glued the cat. Later on it fell out, so you should also glue the arrow in. So I'm just going to position that with my 2A glue and press it into place. I take my videos with my phone, and if somebody calls me, the camera automatically turns off. So while it was off, I stamped those chicks, and then I realized that it was off. So I just stamped them with some Memento ink, and I'm coloring them all the same way with Y15 all along the edges, and then Y11 for the rest. Now my Copic markers are going through to the other side, and I just left it because I didn't care too much, but you could put another piece of cardstock behind these birds so that you don't see that from the back. For the cupcakes, they're all going to be vanilla. I just used an E41 on the cake part, and then for the cupcake liners I did E44 on the left side, and then I filled in with the E43 on the right. I'm going to make 3 different colors for my cupcakes. I'm using BG13 and BG11, so just along the left edge and a little bit on the bottom and the top with the darker color, and then I just fill in the rest with the lighter color. So I have R85 and R81, and notice I'm using colors that are pretty far apart, but they blend pretty well because it's a really small area. I felt like I already had a lot of colors going in this card, so for all the hats I'm doing them the same. They're all going to be red. R27 kind of on the left side, a little bit up and a little bit to the right, and then fill in the rest with the R22. Again, 2 colors that are pretty far apart. I am going to use the Let's Party sentiment from Party Time Again by Clearly Besotted. So I'm going to stamp Party in Versamark ink and put white powder on it. Then I'll stamp Let's above that, white powder again, and heat it to set it. I'm using the Celebration Time dies by Simon Says Stamp. I use these all the time. I'm using the large balloon. I'll run that through the Big Shot. I'm going to use some yellow and white baker's twine to tie my balloon. So notice I have the first loop, and I'm going to get it ready. I'll put it over the bottom part of this balloon, and then I will tighten it. And then I will tie that second loop to make the knot. I did not adhere this in any way with adhesive, but you could put some multimedia matte on there just to make sure it doesn't come off. I'm going to trim off that tail, and then I'm going to tuck that underneath my mouse arms, and I'll adjust it and just for now, and I'm going to adjust it even more once I get it on the card. So put that off to the side. I want him to have a hat, so I'm using the Ellen Hudson bear wear set that's made for that bear that they have, but it fits nicely on the page hugger. So I'm going to again color the same color as the chick hats with the R27 and the R22, and then I will cut that out. Notice I cut around the pom-pom because it's going to have a white background, so you won't see that. Again, I want some grass, so I'm just positioning my mouse so that I know where I need to put my grass. And again, the same colors flicking upward and to the sides. And then I'll put my balloon on first with some ATG tape runner, and that way I can put my mouse down and tighten up my thread so that it fits perfectly. Once I get that done, I can flip my mouse over, and I'm going to put some two-way glue, and I'm also not adhering the thread to the mouse. I'm just putting some two-way glue on the back, and it should stick to my paper just fine. And it's pretty secure in his arms. And then I'll just cut off the excess string on the right-hand side and adhere the hat with the two-way glue. And then I forgot to cut off that little cloud hanging off the side. Now I'm going to go ahead and burnish this a little bit more with my bone folder. It does not stay shut very well if you're not holding it. But the thing is, you're going to pull it out of the envelope and you're going to be holding it. So I'm going to hold it with my right hand, and that's how somebody's going to pull it out of the envelope. So when they pull it out, they can take it apart and see how cute this is. The bunny is on top of the cat, and all the different details of this card. And then when you put it back, it fits nicely into place. Because I've pressed it down really hard, for the most part, it secures in place pretty well. And that is the card for today. So I hope you enjoyed that fun card, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.